remember being wheeled into the hospital, and I was holding both twins, and I heard a nurse behind me say the words Down syndrome. And I looked down at Joe, and I knew.
Joseph was born on, I think it was September 8th, 1993. It was a chaotic scene. The buses were pulling up for the other children. Joseph came out, and he was very small. Dr. Chin, I believe his name was, he told us that Joseph was, in fact, a Down syndrome child, and he had an extra chromosome.
Down syndrome is a genetic condition that affects 1 in every 800 to 1,000 live births in the U.S. People with Down syndrome have an extra copy of chromosome 21. It's that extra genetic material that causes the characteristics that are associated with Down syndrome.
Too much to handle.
Didn't know anything about Down syndrome or what was needed or what kind of intervention was appropriate for Joseph. So I didn't know anything. People in the area told me very little. They said they didn't have very many children in the area with Down syndrome, and that there was really nothing available. You want to find out when you have a child with special needs how much retardation there is. You know, how bad is it if it's a child who's mildly retarded? You're looking to see what's he going to be able to do in the future. What I knew was that Joseph needed extra help. And I had found out about a program that helped brain-injured children. I remembered reading something about this Institutes for the Achievement of Human Potential. I afford to go take this course yet in Philadelphia, but I called them and they called me back and they're, giving me some information about doing it. And they said this exercise that Maggie and I are doing right now is the most important one. This is supposed to help his speech, his vision, because it develops those parts of the brain. When Joe was born, they said he has Down syndrome. It just clicked that I had seen that book called What to Do About Your Brain-Injured Child. I went back to the library, got the book, and read about it. It offered a program, basically, for children like Joe. Started doing some of what's called an at-home program from the institutes. Got the books, I ordered some materials from them, and when Joe was 6 weeks old, we started doing this at home. We were doing it 6 times a day. We would do the patterning, we would do what's called a passive balance program.
And going down this ramp and trying to get him to, he had very floppy limbs and everything, and getting him to sit up, and I taught him how to walk.
Joe, come here, Joe. Come to Daddy. Come on. Come on, walk. Come on, Joe. Come on. Joe. Joe. That's it. We got one big step.
It was about 1.5 when we stopped doing it. I wasn't able to do it with enough intensity and basically got talked out of it by the therapists. We can put him in this wonderful nursery school program and the bus will come and take him back and forth. Center for Discovery in Harris, New York is, it's 17 acres of buildings and lots of places for the kids to walk, so he would be walking to and from and building up his endurance. He's out in the fresh air a lot. So I thought, okay, this is all very good for Joe.
We really have a broad array of programs here, both for children and adults, but pretty much more multiply disabled population. And so the focus is less on academics and more on personal skills, daily living skill kind of development, and what we call a nature-based curriculum. We have a state-of-the-art hippotherapy program. What that is, that's therapeutic horseback riding, really taken to a much more therapeutic level. We have physical therapists, occupational therapists, speech therapists, psychologists, behavioral specialists.
I felt like he was regressing at that point, because it didn't seem that after age 3, it just seemed like he wasn't making any kind of progress. He really wasn't, he was growing. I think they could just as well have left him alone and let him just, let me just carry him around or walk him around every day and expose him to new experiences. I think he would have made the same amount of progress as going through all these therapies. It just wasn't enough of what he needed. So that's where I started in with the school district going, okay, he needs more PT, he needs more of this gross motor activity. This is what my son needs. And that's where they start telling me, well, not start, but what they've been saying all along, but they're going, well, no, you can't have that because you live in an area where that's not available. So on the one hand, I'm finding out Joe has more retardation, has more problems than than I realized at first. So this is not a child with mild retardation. This is a child who was, at that point, they were calling moderate. They started calling him moderate to severe. So you start to see the handwriting on the wall that this is a child that's going to end up being categorized as profoundly retarded. And at the Center for Discovery, they had a residential program. So I could see that if Joe didn't get some substantial help, he was going to end up being one of those kids in a residential program, being cared for and walked here and there and not living a full life. And I didn't want that for my child.
You know, you could be the kind of person that's trying to change things, make everyone change, or you could be the kind of person that just goes along with the status quo the way it is. Your mother's obviously the kind who wants to change things to what she wants, which she has a right to try, you know.
So I finally got the money to go down to Philadelphia. I took my second oldest daughter, Maggie, because they offered week-long seminars for parents who had children with special needs.
We looked at the Down syndrome kid on our profile when we evaluated him, as we evaluate every single brain injured child we see. We found that his evaluation and his diagnosis was no different than any other brain injured child. So perhaps we should give them the benefit of the doubt, and we should treat them as if they're mid-brain injured kids. And when we did that, they got results just like the other mid-brain injured kids. It's our conclusion that Down syndrome children have a genetic problem. In all likelihood, that problem is the cause of their brain injury. But the brain injury is treatable. And of the two things, the genetic problem or the brain injury is the more important problem, because it's the thing that's keeping them from achieving the things in life that they want to achieve.
Well, once you start looking at this kind of thing, they had done 50 years of research on how to help a child with Down syndrome, cerebral palsy, autism, whatever, how to help a child with one kind of brain injury or another to walk and talk. To teach a child like that, a child with Down syndrome with very shallow breathing patterns, how do you teach a child like that to breathe properly? Well, they showed us how. It was a program called Masking. If you shut him out, he smiles and then he gets on with his day. He doesn't let the hurts pile up. He lets them float away. How do you teach a child like that to read or write or do math?
Joe, one more time. Over here. Thank you. Now what do you want? You get to pick something else. You make a choice, please. Want to do the bells? Okay, find them. Yep. We were singing Jingle Bells with them. But I found he really liked
17 plus 33. 41 plus 25. Okay, Joe, which one of these equals 50? Wrong one. Okay, we haven't done any math. What I had learned in this 1 week at the institutes was amazing. I came home and set up a program for Joseph from what we had learned, and Maggie and Robbie and Lucy and I started doing this program with Joe. We started out, by the end of that first month, we were doing the program 6 times a day and patterning him 4 times a day, then we moved up to doing it 8 times a day. Patterning is moving his arms and legs.
All we really do at the institutes is to provide our children with visual, auditory, and tactile stimulation with increased frequency, intensity, and duration in recognition of the orderly way in which the brain grows. If we have a blind child, and he's blind not because he has injured his eye, he's blind because of an injury to the brain. In such a child, the most basic thing we have to do is stimulate that visual pathway. How do we do that? We provide light. So we will put good, strong, effective light into that eye many, many, many times a day. If you took a kid who was blind and you did that for 1 minute, shining light here and then shining light here. If you did that for 1 minute 3 times a day, you would see no result. And then you might come to the conclusion, oh, visual stimulation doesn't work. But of course, you have to have the experience to know what's the correct frequency, what's the correct intensity, what's the correct duration. If you did that same stimulation 100 times a day, and if it was the correct intensity and the correct duration, then you would begin to see that light reflex get better and better and better and faster and more complete.
I'm a scientist. I read the journals. All they have to do is publish it in the journal. I've appeared on television with this woman's father, and he quotes letters, lots of letters. And that goes back to an earlier question that you asked, that you have to know, and parents of organic children, you cannot cure Down syndrome. Nobody could cure Down syndrome. What we could do is optimize these children's development and have them function as productively and well as they possibly can. Read the book, No Time for Jello, by a mother that went there. It's a brainwashing enterprise, as far as I could see.
His overall neurological development is around 18 months old. That means that you still have time. You have a window of opportunity there to bring him up to speed. Whereas normally your brain basically stops growing around 8 years old. Well, Joe at that point was already 9.5. But they're saying, but if his neurological age is only 18 months, you have time to grow his brain.
That's how they get you. I've talked to parents. You do this treatment, and it's very demanding. You get 50 people. It consumes the life of the family. This woman's book is well titled, No Time for Jello. You can't do anything else. It dominates your life.
Well, it's great because you can do other stuff while you're doing the program, like you can
play
read a
Game
book
Boy.
or sing. Like I've been practicing my singing while I do Joe's program, and I've gotten a lot better because I can do it every day, like for half an hour at a time. So if I do 2 programs a day, and that's half an hour of singing each time, that's an hour of singing every day.
When I love my baby, sweet and fair, you got the sky in your eyes, the sun in your hair. While I rock you to sleep most every night, I sing you this song while I hold you tight. Sleep, my baby, the angels keep you from harm, and the Father above cradles you with his love, safe and warm. Sleep, my baby, nestled in your mama's arms. Sleep, my baby, the angels keep you from